Let me say something before we get into this. I am not here to tell you Mercedes is broken. I have owned more of these cars than I can fully justify financially, and I will probably own more. The ride, the quiet, the way a good E-Class feels on an empty road at night, I get it. I have always gotten it. But there is a gap between what the factory delivers and what actually serves you as an owner. And most people never close that gap. They collect the car, pair a phone, adjust the seat, and drive away, leaving every default exactly where Mercedes left it. Some of those defaults are fine, some of them are not. When I say change these settings, I do not mean blindly switching off every system in the car. Some of these should be turned off completely. Some should only be changed in specific situations. A few should be adjusted rather than killed. And one or two you should simply understand before they surprise you on a road or a ferry or a freezing morning when you did not expect it. Let's go through them. Start with the key. Keyless. Go feels like the future the first time you use it. Walk up, grab the handle, the door opens. No button, no fumbling. The car recognizes you and just lets you in. It is genuinely good technology. The problem is, it never stops working. Your Mercedes is broadcasting a low-frequency signal constantly, looking for the key. It does that while you are driving, while you are sleeping, while the car is locked on the driveway, and the key is sitting in a bowl next to the front door. The car is always ready. That is the whole point. A relay amplifier can reach through a wall. Two people, one device each, one standing near your house and one near the car. The signal gets extended, the car thinks the key is outside, the door unlocks, and the car starts. No broken glass, no noise. The car logs it as a normal entry, because technically it was. I am not saying panic. I am saying think about where the key lives when the car is parked outside. Keep the key away from exterior walls. Get a Faraday pouch if the car sleeps on a driveway. Most Mercedes keys have a sleep mode. 2 taps, the signal goes quiet. Check your manual. It takes about 45 seconds. Now, if you bought the car used, this next part matters more than most things I will say today. When the previous owner sold that car, they handed over the keys. That is usually where people think the handover ends. It does not. There is an entire digital layer inside a modern Mercedes that most sellers never clear and most buyers never check. Old phones still paired in the Bluetooth list. The previous owner's home address as the default destination. Seat and mirror profiles, saved under a name that is not yours. Garage door programming from a house you have never seen. App connections, saved places. In some cases, Mercedes Me account links that were never removed. One used E-Class owner described spending the first week in the car feeling like a guest. Everything worked, but none of it had ever been configured for him. Delete the old life out of it. Go through the Bluetooth list and remove every device that is not yours. Reset user profiles. Clear the navigation history. Review what is still connected through the Mercedes Me platform. This is not paranoia, it is just completing the purchase. The dealer will not do it. The previous owner did not do it. You need to do it. While you are in those menus, spend 5 minutes on the Mercedes Me permissions. A connected Mercedes can share and store vehicle data, location-related information, diagnostic details, and service records, depending on which services are active. Most owners tap through the setup screen, accept defaults, and never go back in. I am not saying the car is spying on you. I am saying you probably agreed to things during setup that you have not thought about since, and it is worth knowing what those are. Go into the privacy settings. Review what is active. If you are not using remote access, turn it off. If location services have no benefit for you, turn those off too. 10 minutes. Does not change how the car drives. Same logic applies to the voice assistant. If you use it, leave it exactly as it is. On newer models, it is actually good. If you never talk to the car, there is no reason to leave the wake word active. It listens all the time, waiting for a phrase that sounds close enough to the trigger. It can activate mid-conversation, during a podcast, during something your passenger says that happens to land in the right neighborhood phonetically. Turn the wake word off. The cabin gets quieter in a way that is hard to describe until you experience it. Then there's the battery. This one is not about one setting, it is about a pattern. Approach lighting, welcome lighting, comfort entry, auto-folding mirrors, the little startup sequence the car performs when you walk toward it. Individually, none of these are dangerous. Mercedes built them because they make the car feel alive. The lights come on, the mirrors move, the screens warm up, the whole car runs a small greeting. On a new car with a healthy battery that gets driven 40 minutes a day, this is fine. On a 5-year-old Mercedes with an original battery, driven mostly on 10-minute trips, parked outside in cold weather, waking itself up every time you walk past it with the key in your pocket, it starts adding up. I learned this one later than I should have. My car was throwing low battery warnings and I kept blaming the battery. It was partly the battery. It was also partly that I had left on every piece of comfort theater the factory enabled and was running the car on too many short trips to let it fully recover between them. One light sequence will not kill a battery. But an aging battery does not need the car performing theater 4 times a day. If you are getting slow starts on cold mornings, look at what is waking the car up before you assume the battery needs replacing. Disable what you do not use. Approach lighting. Welcome sequences. Comfort entry animations. None of them make the car drive better. In summer, the auto-folding mirrors are nice. In January, not so much. If mirrors freeze overnight and the car tries to unfold them automatically in the morning, the small electric motor inside fights frozen plastic and frozen seals. Usually nothing breaks immediately. Over a few winters, those motors get tired faster than they should. The fix is simple. If your car sleeps outside and the temperature drops, go into the settings and turn off automatic mirror folding until spring. Fold them manually when you need to. It costs nothing and removes a failure mode that makes no sense to accept. Same thing with the wipers, but 2 specific situations. Car washes first. Before you drive into any automated wash, turn the wipers off. Not auto, off. If the rain sensors trigger inside the wash, the blades try to move against brushes and high-pressure jets, and the car wash wins. Blades tear, arms bend, completely avoidable. Frozen mornings, same idea. If the blades are stuck to the windshield and the system activates, the motor strains against ice. Clear the blades manually first, then start the car. 2 situations, same habit, 30 seconds each. Now the tire pressure thing. This is the one that costs people money quietly. When the tire warning comes on, most owners want the message gone. So they reset it, the screen clears, job done. Except nothing has actually been done. The car did not inflate the tire. It did not check the pressure. It accepted the current pressure as the new correct reference and went back to sleep. If one tire is 5 psi low when you hit reset, the car now considers that low pressure to be normal. The warning does not return. The tire keeps running underinflated, wearing unevenly, handling worse than it should, with a monitoring system that has been told everything is fine. A mechanic I know says this mistake comes through the workshop more than almost anything else. Customers reset the warning because they think it means the car ran a check. It does not work that way. Set all 4 tires to the correct pressure cold. Use a gauge. Confirm the numbers. Then reset. Never before. Always after. Lane keeping assist. I want to be fair to this system before I get into the problem with it, because on a clean motorway with good visibility and clear lane markings, the intervention version is a reasonable feature. Long drives, tired highways, high speed, it makes sense there. The problem is not the system. The problem is that the system does not know it has left the motorway. On a narrow road with faded lines, on a construction zone where temporary markings do not follow normal lane logic, on a wet rural lane where the camera cannot read the edges properly, the car will still try to correct you. Sometimes it corrects you when you are already handling the road correctly. The steering input comes in and you have to push back against it. Most Mercedes models allow you to separate warning from intervention. Warning means the car tells you when you drift. Intervention means the car steers. These are not the same thing, and should not be treated the same way. If intervention is annoying you on your regular roads, check whether you can keep the alert and reduce or remove the steering correction. Adjust it before you disable it. And read what the setting actually controls before you change it, because some menus combine multiple behaviors in a single toggle. Active brake assist. Do not switch this off because it annoyed you once in a parking garage. That is all I want to say about that, except I will also say this. This system can react faster than you. That is the point. On a fast road, with a real hazard, with your brain needing another half second to process what is happening, a system that brakes before you do is not an inconvenience. It is the reason things did not go worse. The complaints about it are real. Tight city driving, low clearance structures, narrow streets where a parked van registers as a threat. I understand why people get frustrated. But the answer is sensitivity adjustment, not removal. Check whether your model lets you adjust how aggressively the system responds. Find the setting, understand what it changes, and dial it back if your driving environment generates too many false alerts. If you disable it temporarily for a specific situation, turn it back on immediately when that situation is done. This is not the setting to forget about. Last one. Most owners do not know this setting exists until it makes them famous in a car park or on a boat. Modern Mercedes alarm systems often include two things running quietly in the background: an interior motion sensor and tow-away protection. The motion sensor watches for movement inside the locked car. The tow-away sensor watches for the vehicle being lifted or tilted. Both are real theft prevention tools. Both can trigger when nothing is being stolen. One owner learned about tow-away protection on a ferry. The ship moved, the sensor registered it as theft behavior, and the alarm went off twice during the crossing. There is no good way to explain to strangers why a locked car is screaming on a boat. Another found out his interior sensor was triggered by a jacket hanging from the rear grab handle. A cracked window, a small movement of air. The alarm went off at midnight in a hotel parking lot. These systems are doing exactly what they were built to do. They just have no context. Most models let you temporarily disable both sensors as part of the locking sequence, usually a key hold or a setting in the alarm menu. In most cases, they come back automatically the next time you lock the car. If you are having the car transported, towed, or placed on any moving platform, check your manual and disable them before the alarm embarrasses everyone. 11 settings. Some protect the car, some protect the battery, some protect the tires. Some prevent repairs that should never happen. Some make safety systems behave in a way that actually matches your roads, your winter, and the way you actually drive. None of this requires a workshop appointment. All of it requires knowing these things exist. The factory did not know your driveway, your weather, your battery age, your roads, or the fact that the previous two owners never once opened the settings menu. You know all of that now. Configure the car accordingly. If you want to know which used Mercedes models look like good value until the first time something goes wrong, that is the next video. Watch it before you buy.